Hey, EduGladiators, it's Marlena here, and I am so excited to be back with you tonight for another EduGladiators live session. And tonight we have an amazing guest, Terence White, who is, my gosh, has not only an awesome story to tell and tips to help us with kids that might be going through similar things, but Terence is just come onto the blog scene like a champ, a powerhouse, a phoenix, actually. And we're excited to have him talk to us tonight as we go through Rising from the Ashes. Say hello, Terence.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Awesome. And for those of you that are watching live, or maybe you're watching the replay, that's fine too. But if you're watching live, remember that we have our live chat feature. So if you see me look down, I'm looking at my phone so I can read the questions that you might have for Terence, our guests, or even for me, or just maybe you have some aha moments during our conversation tonight with Terence that you want to share with the rest of the folks that are tuned in for tonight. So please put your questions down in the live chat feature, and we will ask those to our guests as we go forward. So, hey, Terence, are you ready to get started?
Let's go. Let's do it. I'm ready.
Awesome. Awesome. So, Terence, tell everyone a little bit about yourself. Who is Terence White?
I am Terence White. I am currently a 7th grade science teacher in Aurora, Illinois. Aurora, Illinois is 37 miles west of Chicago. And I just finished my 6th year teaching, and I'm still going strong.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, Terence and I connected through MS Chat. And so I kind of pushed him. I kind of challenged him to, after learning a little bit more about him, to start his own blog and to get his voice out there. And my goodness, not only did he start his own blog, but his voice is so powerful. But before we get into your story, Terence, tell us, how did you even come up with the whole Phoenix Rising from the Ashes idea?
I came up with that because I was always a fan of mythology. Came up with the idea of the Phoenix was by just my own life. And we'll talk about that a little later about my life. And basically, if you go through the journey of my life, I was a phoenix. I rose from the ashes because there was a point in my life where I was down and I was out. And I came up with the idea of the Phoenix is because I want teachers, students, and administrators to be able to tell stories of moments you're doing in the classroom and moments with students that when they have had a moment when they have rose out of the ashes to reincarnate themselves, just like the Phoenix, into something great.
Wow, that's awesome. And if you have not read his blog, well, first of all, Terence, tell us, how can folks read your blog? It's also featured on EduGladiators.com, but how can they read your blog from your site?
If you would like to read my blog, it is TW is a Phoenix. It's TW, it's Terence White, like my name, is a Phoenix.blog, BLOG. So if you want to get
awesome.
If you want to read my blog, future blog posts, I welcome you to read it.
Awesome. Awesome. I'll tell you, you won't be disappointed at all. So you know what, Terence, let's jump right into your story so the folks out there can know a little bit about where you're coming from and why you gladiate for the kids in the way that you do. So tell us just a little overview about your journey, about how you got to the ashes, to the fire.
Well, my journey, one of the things I will tell you is I was born with a mom who was addicted to drugs and a dad who was in and out of jail for many different crimes. So at the age of 4, they found us in an apartment building, abandoned, and I went through foster care for the next 5 years. And at that time, I was in a terrible foster home. And I won't give it all away because I want you guys all to read the blog. And I basically went to school, went to a behavior disorder school, and I eventually worked my way out of it. And I graduated from 8th grade, graduated from high school, went on to college, and now I just finished my master's. I'm the first person in my family ever to get a master's this past May. So it has been a journey, but along the way, and as you will read in the blog, I have part 1 and 3 will be coming out at the end of this week. We'll just basically explain it was not all smooth sailing. It took a lot of great people in my life because I didn't have family. So, because I grew up in group homes, So my teachers were my family. And I had some amazing people that kept me on that track. And I will thank those people to this day.
That's awesome. Now, one thing you said that I know some people who are listening, whether live or the repeat, might be asking themselves, wait a minute, you worked your way out of a behavior disorder school?
Yes.
Like that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Talk about
One of the things when I was in a behavior, because I was in a behavior disorder school, because I had a lot of anger pent up from just my previous 9 years of my life. So when I was put in the school, the teacher that I had did not judge me. That teacher saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. I didn't see it until middle school. So I got to 6th grade. He kept pushing me to be great. Whenever I had episodes of anger, he would help me work my way. He never ever gave up on me. But he kept pushing me to be better than the people who were in that school, be better than myself. And eventually, that action that he kept pushing it to me turned into my internal flame. And that's when when I started rising out of the ashes.
Wow.
I'm not rising yet, but I woke up because I was down in the ashes. I was out and I woke up. And I thank that teacher to this day.
Wow. Like what did the kids say? Like you woke now. So
right, exactly. I'm woke. Right.
And as Maya Angelou always says, when you know better, you do better. And
Absolutely.
You certainly have done that. I like how you said like the teachers didn't judge you. How do we help our teachers not to judge our kids based on either what we perceive their story as being or their circumstances as being, to even sometimes what we know their circumstances might be? How do we support our teachers to not do that?
Well, I tell you what my teachers did from elementary all the way through middle school, and not all of my teachers, when I talk about part 3 of the blog, not all of my teachers did this. High school, they was in trouble. But my teachers in middle school, they knew that I came from a group home, but they treated me the exact same. They treated me as an equal as the other students who were there. They didn't pick on me or target me. They supported me. And they knew if I was having trouble, they supported me a little bit more. But at the same time, they treated me as an equal. And that meant so much to me when I got out of the behavior disorder school and went to the regular school. I say regular in quotations, because they really supported me. I had some middle school were the best 3 years of my K-12.
Wait, say that one more time as a middle school advocate. Say that one more time, a little bit louder.
Out of my K through 12 school career, 6th through 8th grade were the best 3 years I had, because my teachers took me from being good to thinking about greatness. And again, that's because of the fact they supported me. I had great relationships. I had some awesome middle school teachers. This could just go on. I was thinking about this a couple of days ago. I couldn't think of a middle school teacher that I didn't like. There was nobody that came to mind because they were just so friendly, so approachable. But at the same time, they didn't look at me. They didn't treat me differently because of my circumstances. And it just means so much to me. And I'm going to go back to that middle school and tell those teachers, because of you guys, I'm here where I am today because of you. Because it's awesome. Just, they didn't judge me.
I'm blown away. And that's the age group that, for those of you that are watching, and it's okay, we're not judging, but I know you might be. I love my middle school. That is my favorite area because I feel like we can make the most impact in students' lives at that time. Like, to me, that's when they're at a crossroads as they're dealing with their changing bodies, their developmentally, their development just intellectually and socially and emotionally. They're just awkward. And we were all there. And I think that's key. Middle school teachers don't judge in general, because everybody's at an awkward stage, and we remember how we were when we were at that stage. So Terence, how can we support our elementary and our high school teachers who may not have had the pleasure of teaching middle school to really build relationships, particularly with kids that are going through such trying circumstances like you went through?
Right. Well, I'm a big believer of building relationships first, because I know when you get to high school, and even some middle schools have this issue, we focus so much. There's so much pressure on the curriculum, and where we are in the curriculum, that we forget about the kids. We forget about students. And don't get, I'm not saying curriculum's not important. I'm not saying that it is absolutely important, because without the curriculum, you're not teaching anything. But the biggest thing we forget is to, if you build relationships first, especially with those troubled students tend to have a lot of trust issues because of their past and their family life. I know myself, I had a lot of trust issues, but the first couple of weeks, my teacher, my back, how you doing? They talked to me. I got to know them as people. And then once I got to know them and I developed that relationship and that positive trust with them, then the curriculum just flew. I would go through a brick wall for all of my middle school teachers because I knew I liked them and I respected them but they held me accountable at the same time too, though. If I got off task, they said, hey, you need to get back on this track. So they held me accountable, but they didn't do it to a point where they were going to destroy me, because they developed such a positive relationship with me that I'm going to go through that brick wall. So our elementary and our high school teachers do the same thing. The first couple weeks, I know in my classroom, I developed that classroom culture. Get to know the students. The activities we do would be less me talking. I'll talk a little bit, let them work. And at that time, I walk around and I just talk to my students. That first couple weeks, talk to them about, what do you like to do? What are you into? And just basically shoot it with the students. And they like that because they feel, oh, he cares about me. Mm-hmm. And that is huge. And then the curriculum will come. You will get through curriculum so much better because every curriculum has a point where it's tough. That tough spot or that really dry spot in the curriculum, they all have them. But if you have your students in your pocket, they will say, we're going to get through this together. It is a journey because you have built that relationship with them. And they trust street with trust. There's respect to a street, and that's what it comes down to. And I believe the first couple weeks in a school year are the most critical in building relationships. 2 to 3 weeks.
Absolutely.
So I know I said a lot. I'm so sorry.
No, don't apologize. No, your story is great. Again, if you are listening in and you have a question for Terence as we're talking, any thoughts, make sure you put that in the live chat. And right now, Terence, everybody just loves your story and love your determination as well, that you're sharing with us tonight, and just how you've persevered. So when we talk about relationships and building relationships with kids, I totally agree with you. Yeah. Ways is to be out in the hallways during class change. Absolutely. Especially at the secondary level, and that's middle or high. How do you encourage teachers or help them balance that? That's only a few minutes, 3 to 5 minutes, depending on your school, between classes. How do they manage being outside and being that greeter, being that friendly face that they see?
How do I manage it, or how do I? I'm always standing. I'm standing outside my classroom. If I'm walking down the hallway, I will make it a point to say hi to a student, even if I don't know that student. I mean, he or she may not be in my class. I'm gonna say hi to that student, because that's what my teachers. I just remember my teachers doing that when I was in school. Whenever a teacher would laugh, even crack a joke at me, I remember that because it just lightened up my day, especially at a time when I needed it. So I do the same thing to my students. I mean, hey, how you doing? Just saying hello. Those simple hellos will change the student's day. Even especially, like you said, in middle school, they are awkward. They are going through hormones, so they could be having the worst day all in the same time. It's like Chicago weather. You wear a sweater, you can wear a sweater, shorts, and a tank top all in the same day, because it changes. They change on you right in front of you. So that simple gesture of saying hello, it is so simple, but it can mean so much to a student. And just talking with a student, just 1 minute. Hey, how you doing? How's life? And that student, you may make that student's day. So it's those little things that you can do. And you can do it K through 12, even college you can do it. Do it as a human being. You talk to your staff members. Hey, how you doing? If you're an administrator, talk to your staff. They appreciate that. Hey, how you doing? How's life? It can be informal. It's those little things that make a huge difference, because we're human beings and we like to feel good.
Absolutely. So one of the things with middle school, and I know I have some middle school folks that are watching right now too, is that advisory is a key piece of the middle school concept, where you
Yes.
have that concentrated 20 minutes
Yep.
at least once a week, preferably more if your schedule allows for it, where you just connect with kids.
Mm-hmm.
So for probably more for high school teachers, how can they still build that connection? Or do you think advisory should be something that we don't stop at the end of middle school?
I'm saying that I know some high schools have homeroom, and it's a different variation of. I know when I was in high school, we had homeroom, and I'll give you an example of a situation. There was a teacher I had in high school. He was the choir teacher. I had him my freshman year. Him and I did not at all. Him and I didn't get along. But when he became my homeroom teacher, I saw a completely different side, and I actually connected with this teacher a lot. And homeroom was the first 20 minutes of the day. And at that time, students could do homework, students could talk with each other. But the thing I remember about this choir teacher, he was involved with us, talking with us. Because during the class, he was so focused on his curriculum. But during that 20 minutes, he could just be himself. And I learned more things about him in that 20 minutes. I wish I could have gone back and had him again as a teacher, because I would have had a better time in his class. So advisory, the term advisory is great, but it shouldn't stop. It just take a time just to talk to people. That is huge. Because if students, just like anything, if you like reading a book, you're going to fly through a book. If you hate reading a book, it is going to be the driest thing ever. And that is our job as teachers. Sometimes we're actors. Sometimes we are actors, dancers, singers. We do whatever it takes to get our students to be involved in our class. And that's kind of the role of the 21st century.
And another thing too, with just building relationship is, and I've said this before on previous podcasts and even in my tweets, is that it's okay to tell kids that you love them. I think that's important for kids to hear, because you might be the only person that tells that child that, and I say child, but they could be a high schooler, same difference. So I really think it's important for us to say that, but then that our actions are also not, we're not just saying I love you as words, but our actions speak that as well. So were any of your teachers, like, did you feel like, how did you know that they just truly cared about you and they loved you? They had your best interest at heart?
My favorite teachers were the ones that pushed me. They didn't just let me fly under the radar. They pushed me, and they may have pushed me they wanted to push me outside of my box. Academically, they saw something in me that I didn't see. And this happened really, really kicked off in middle school, and it continued on through high school. My favorite teachers were the one that pushed me, but at the same time, I knew they cared about me. So one of the lines that I heard from my teachers would say, if I was doing something that wasn't quite up to my ability, they would say, I'm getting on you because I care. And that line always got to me like, whoa, you do care. And that's a line I use when I'm teaching. I tell my students, I do it because I care. And that if a student's goofing off, I'm talking to you because you got to get back on task. I would have this conversation, a 1 minute conversation. I'll pull students out, talk to you for 1 minute. I get on you, not because I hate you, because I care about you, because I want you to do great. And a student, they can't argue with that. And if they know you're genuine, it gets to them. And most of the time, I've had students apologize. I'm sorry for not performing at my potential. My teachers, whenever I wasn't performing and they let me know, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to step it up. And I'm going to step it up, and I would let that teacher know, I'm sorry that I not live up to my potential. And it goes back to, I talked about this in our Voxer group, kick them down, build them up. When the biggest thing that we forget to do is we kick them down for doing something wrong, and we just leave them there. If they improve the behavior and they do something great, it is important, all ages. Sorry if you hear my kids screaming in the background. It is important that we build that student back up. This year, I had a challenging group of students this year. And that's one of the things that was my greatest failure this year, that I never build the students up. We're always catching them doing something bad, always catching them. There was a student I had this year. a hard time in all his classes, even in my class, having a hard time. But the moment, one day I saw him doing something great. He was working hard on an assignment I gave him. I pat him on the back and I said, hey, great job on that assignment. His face was priceless. And for the rest of the school year, he worked hard for me because he built that positive, I built that relationship. I'm like, hey, great job doing that. His smile connected. Kick them down. If we do that, we have to make sure we build them back up. It goes back to that phoenix. The phoenix is reincarnating themselves. The phoenix is down. It's in the ashes, right? But when it comes out stronger, it comes out better. We have to build our students up. And that's what a lot of my teachers did. I would disappoint them. They would also let me know that's the Terence White that I want to see. I take that in my classroom every day. But as teachers, we sometimes forget that because we're so stressed out by so many demands coming at us. But at the end of the day, we have to remember, we kick a student down, we have to build them back up. Catch someone they're doing good. It's that balance. If someone just kept telling you, you're terrible, you're terrible, you're terrible, you're going to tune that person out. Especially a student who is having a rough, hears that all the time at home. It's like, oh yeah, please. It's that mindset. It goes back to mindset. If a student knows that they're bad, they're going to be bad. But if a student knows that they have the potential to be good, they're going to be good. And that's one of the things we have to forget. If you have a class that's coming in, you know that's going to be a tough kid. Start that student being positive. I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna be positive with that student. Say nothing positive. I had a student a couple years ago. I said nothing positive for the first week. Positive. Nothing. Did not get on that student for the first week. And there's my son who is in the way. So that's the biggest thing I would say.
Awesome. I had lunch with one of my PLN from Texas. They were passing through Nashville. For those of you that follow me on Twitter, you might have seen a picture with me and my good friends, Brent and Jessica Clarkson. And so we were talking, and they have little ones and 2 little boys. And so they asked me, Jessica asked me, she was like, Marlena, like, how did you know that your kids are going to be, that they're going to be just these fantastic, athletes and have offers and all of this stuff? And so it's so funny because I looked at her and I said, what do you mean? How did I know? They had no other way to be, because I've been telling them since they were born that they were meant to do great things, whether it was football, whether it was something else, another sport, because they're equally as gifted in their academics and their art as much as they are on the field. I said, so they didn't have a choice but to be great. They're my kids. They didn't have a choice but to be great.
But did you have moments where you also had to kick them down a little bit to let them know?
And oh yeah. Like, oh, you have a B or a C, you don't need to go to football practice, because obviously we need to work on some math, But I guess for her, like, she was trying to figure out, like, what's the secret if she has little ones, and if they have these really ambitious dreams. The secret is we have to believe enough in them until they start believing it in themselves, and whatever we expect, that's what they live up to. So when you are supporting them and grounding them in love and support, and with the mindset that they could do anything, like nothing is impossible, then they'll be fantastic at whatever it is that they decide to do.
Absolutely.
And I think as teachers, we have to be the same way. And as leaders, I would tell my kids all the time, you're my kids, we're the Rainbow Coalition. Like, I expect out of you what I expect out of my boys, because that's the only way we're going to work, and I have high expectations, and you can live up to them.
Absolutely. And I tell my students that too. I'm like, everything I tell you, I would tell my own kids. I'm pushing you to be great, because but at the end of the day, I always tell my kids, my own personal kids and my students, tell my students, I care about you, I love you. And I tell my own kids, you saw one of them trying to hide in the screen, trying to jump in the screen. I tell him, I may get on him, he may cry, but you know what? At the end of the day, I tell him, I love you.
Absolutely.
I love you, and he knows that. And you're going to be great.
Absolutely. In our chat, it's really a great live chat going on. So guys, if you are watching live right now, you definitely want to hit that live chat feature. And if you have a question or just thoughts and comments, put it here. My friend Tracy, she said, even soccer. Tracy knows me really well. So let me, that's a great example, Tracy. I'm going to be very transparent because she knows that I love football. I'm from Louisiana. And that's what my boys play. But in their minds, a few years back, that they were going to play soccer, and we don't play soccer. I told them that, like, my high expectations, I was also projecting on them. We don't play soccer. And, you know, you need to kind of be realistic because you've never played before outside the video game and all of that. And so you may not be on the first team. That's okay. Be a team player. But, you know, they looked at me and was like, but you told us we could do anything. So we're gonna play and we're gonna start. And they did. Because they had been raised with that mindset of, don't tell me that I can't, because I'm just gonna prove to you that I can. You know? And so that's what they did. So thank you, Tracy, for reminding me of the soccer days, because I love it. They did it and they just excelled, and it's just made them just even stronger. One of the things, Terence, that I see in your story that you shared on your blog post and just in us talking is that your teachers, of course, they engaged you. They engaged you with your interest, with their belief in you, with the curriculum, whatever it might be. They connected, made it relevant. But it sounds like they also empowered you.
Yes, that is huge. One of the biggest things from this blog, I believe that every student should be empowered, regardless of their socioeconomic background, their race, their culture. They should be empowered. And empowerment is 21st century learner, is empowering students. Instead of telling them what to do, we should empower them to take the skills and do something great with it. And that's what my teachers did. They empowered me. They gave me of knowledge, and I used that, and I kept growing with it, because my teachers knew that I had it. And I think as educators, we should be empowering students regardless. And again, we're always going to have those students who don't know they'd be empowered. In middle school, every once in a while, we may have a student who will fight us. We have all been there, or even any age. But our goal is to plant that seed. I'm getting scientific here. And hope that seed sprouts down the road. I know my teachers, they planted some seeds that sprouted later in life. But your goal is to plant that empowering seed and hope that it grows and sprouts into something beautiful that's going to impact the world. So empowerment's everything. If you don't, that's everything. If you look in our world today, everywhere, every country, if people are not empowered, they become, lack of a better term, weak. And we have to be empowered, because that's absolutely huge.
Yeah, I think we talk about engagement, and we still need to talk about engagement, about getting kids excited about curriculum and things like that. But when we talk about empower, which is all 21st century skills, we are giving them the knowledge and skills that they need to pursue whatever their passions might be, whatever their interests might be, to solve world problems. So I think it's time to start shifting from, we always need to get them excited about learning, but empower them to take this knowledge and be great with it. Do something fantastic with it. Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. I know one of the things that in my graduate studies, our district, we just went 1-to-1 with the Chromebooks. And one of the things I learned from my students, okay, you put a Chromebook in front of them, right? What are you going to, as teachers, what are you going to do with that Chromebook? Are you going to just have them do boring worksheets on the Chromebook? Because you could just do that on paper. Or are you going to take that device and you're going to teach them how to be innovators and how to be creators? That's the key. Are you going to empower them? And again, empowerment is everything. And empowerment comes knowledge. So that's the biggest thing I would say to teachers. Empower your students, regardless of who they are. Some students, you may have a student who comes from a terrible background and they have never had a teacher who empowered them. You could be that teacher to plant that powerful seed. And that is huge, because I'm living proof of it. That's why I started writing this blog, because when I was thinking about a blog, I started thinking about my life. And I think about it, if I can make it, anybody can make it. And it was because of my great teachers that kept me out of jail, that kept me alive, that kept me on that right path and where I am today, because they empowered me they let me, they just, I had a fire and they just kept feeding the fire. And that was huge. And I even had some college professors in my master's program who, who empowered me. Marlena, you empowered me to write the blog. I never thought about writing a blog, but now I want to keep going. I want to keep being a lifelong learner because of my teachers. That's standard number one for ISTE is empowerment. I know that because I had to write my paper on it. So
I love that.
Yeah. Empowering students for the 21st century.
I love that. And Tanya, who's on our live chat right now, she says
Hi, Tanya.
that, yes, hi, Tanya. She says, empower my students and the knowledge will be internalized. And I think that's the piece, like that's what we need to do, not just give them the Chromebook, not just feed them the curriculum, but actually equip them and then have them solve those problems, you know, and have them be those game changers that we know that they are.
And they may not know it.
That's right. That's right. Tracy from our chat. Hey, Tracy. She says, this is such an important message, Terrence. As teachers, we have a huge impact. So powerful, we don't even realize it.
Right. And I'm glad you said that, Tracy, because one thing I will tell you, when I'm a little blurb about part 3 of my blog, I actually hid my past and I would lie about it. I would ignore it. And then one day I had a teacher, a professor in college, as he told me, you have a powerful story that people need to hear. So I went from hiding it and ignoring it because I was embarrassed by it to I need to empower other people with this. And I realized, okay, I am doing a disservice to myself and to other people by not telling. This is why, and me telling people, by the way, is new within the last 9 years. This isn't something that I started telling people. This is within the last 9 years of my life. I'm telling people, this is how I grew up. This is who I am. Powerful. And a lot of people started listening. Like, whoa. They would have never guessed that from me. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, you really grew up that way? I'm like, yes, I did grow up that way. And they're shocked how I became today because the statistics are typically not in my favor for how I grew up.
Right, right, absolutely. How as teachers, do we model that empowerment for our students?
You can do it by being more transparent. You can do it by talking with your students. If your students are having a hard time, if they're having a hard time in life, your curriculum, they're not thinking about that right now. They're trying to survive. And sometimes you take some time. Let's just talk. What's going on in your life? Again, build their relationships. Talking with them. Let them know, hey, be transparent. I've been through that.
I love that.
I've been there. I started telling my students, there are certain students who have gone through hard times this year. Like, I've been there. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, I've been where you are. And they're so astounded by that. And then once I got their attention, I let them know, hey, these are the things that you're going to have to do. And you're not going to do it tomorrow, but if you keep doing these little things, you will make it.
Wow.
Yep.
That's
in addition
enough
to that,
said right there.
Right. But also in addition to that, teachers supporting each other, having each other's back.
Absolutely. And I think it's important for administrators to have their teachers back as well. Mm-hmm. And model for them. If you're a leader in a building, it's whether you're a principal, assistant principal, you need to have your teachers back and model for them and empower them and understand that you have to let plates fall because the growth comes when you're picking up the pieces. So I think that's awesome. So Terrence, you're amazing. First of all, let me just say, I really enjoyed just getting to know more about your story, having a face-to-face with you when I was in your area as well a couple of weeks ago. I know you mentioned so many teachers have been just such strong role models for you, but I have to ask, who's your superhero that's not a teacher?
I got you. My superhero, this is going to sound crazy, were my older brother and sister. when I was living in a group home, that's when I was living, we all lived in a group home together. My older brother and sister were succeeding in school. And I looked up at them and said, you know what? I want to be like them. They put the seed. That was when I realized I want to go to college. Sophomore year, I see my brother. He's a senior. He's doing great things athletically, and he's talking about going to colleges, visiting colleges. And I thought to myself, you know what? I want to do that. I want to go to college, because I didn't think about college until my sophomore year. My sister went away to college, and I went to her college graduation when I was in high school. And that was so impactful to me, because I realized, okay, what is this college thing? I want more. So they are my superheroes, because they planted that seed I was talking about earlier. So I know that sounds like a really random, but my siblings really set the tone for me. And now it's funny, because now, and they said they want to be like me, because I was the first one to graduate with a master's. So now they say we're next. So it's interesting how things have changed in our family dynamic. And I told them, you guys set the bar, and they told me I raised it. Without setting the bar, you don't have a bar.
I love that. I love that. And I just am so glad again that you were here with us on tonight for our EduGladiators Live. Yep. Terence, if people want to follow you, whether your blog or just get connected with you, how do they get in touch with the Phoenix, Terence White?
If you want to follow me on Twitter, my handle is my name, TERENCE, White, just like the color, 23. And that is my Twitter handle. If you want to follow my blog, I am always looking for guest bloggers, to students or administrators or teachers, to tell a story about a Phoenix moment. You can contact me I'm going to set up a Google form page today, and you can go to my blog at twisaphoenix.blog and click on the About page, and I'm going to put a link there for a Google form. And if you want to talk about Phoenix moments, please share that, because it is powerful for people to know that there's others like us out there.
Absolutely, it is. Well, thank you again, Terence, for joining us tonight. And thank you, everyone that's watching live, or maybe you're watching the replay. We really appreciate you joining in. And I hope you learned as much as I've learned from Terence, and just sharing his story and how to rise from the ashes and how to support our kids that are in the process of that rise. Thank you, Terence.
Thank you for having me. You guys have a wonderful day, and enjoy the nice weather if you have some.
Well, also, if you can't get enough of this, again, the replay will be available as soon as we go off the air, and you can share it with your friends, your colleagues, your PLN, your school, your district. And we invite you to join us on Saturday for our EduGladiators chat. That's every Saturday on Twitter, 30 a.m. Central Standard Time, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's 30 minutes of intense fun, sharing, learning, growing, and connecting on a Saturday. And this Saturday, our topic, I think, is very timely, as most of us have enjoyed our summer break, or are starting to enjoy our summer break, of finding balance. How do we find balance with all that it takes to gladiate for our kids, and then also keeping our peace of mind and tending to our own personal lives and families? So this Saturday is all about finding balance. We hope that you're all there. And then after that, we have another special guest, another special chat about classroom peer walkthroughs. So that's all I'm going to say right now. If you want a sneak peek of what that will be, then I encourage you to go to edugladiators.com. Sign up for our newsletter, for our mailing list. We send it email, not snail mail. And we send out every week, just about every week, but we send out a sneak peek, and we just send it out. And if you sign up, we'll make sure you get that, of what our summer chats will be. So you can definitely be sure to mark your calendars and join in, especially the chats that really speak to your heart there. So thank you for joining us tonight. Again, we'll be back on Saturday with Finding Balance at 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Terence.
No problem. You guys have a great day.
Awesome. Have a great one, everyone.